Okay, so welcome everybody to the Mocking Mind, and the reason why we've called it To Kill a Mocking Mind is because we are all associated and we all understand to kill a mockingbird, but our minds mock us 24/7, 365. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but your mind has a tendency to speak to you, to complete your sentences for you, and sometimes it doesn't tell you the truth of what's actually going on. So in here, To Kill a Mocking Mind, why we've chosen it is because we will be looking at, if you want to go into more detail, some of the information is on the website, tokillamockingmind.com. But here we're going to cover personal growth, leadership development, self-awareness, boundaries, behavior modification, health. We'll wait until we get to health. We're not going to rush into health just yet. Okay, I've got to master a few things first, and then I'm going to probably get someone like Tessa, who's mastered it very, very, very well, to talk to us on health, and we'll get some guest speakers, because ultimately it is about a holistic approach on how we can look after ourselves. So this evening's session is going to focus more on personal growth, self-awareness, and behavior modification. So those are the three that this area will cover this evening. Okay, so in the previous sessions, I don't know if I've just mentioned this already. If you notice that little voice that's inside of your head, some of us have more than one little voice having conversations with us, especially when we're driving quietly in the car. And what happens is we have a tendency to listen to that inner narrator that has this conversation to override us. I don't know if you know, but your mind is actually designed to protect you. And this is why many people don't go out of their comfort zones, because they're so busy listening, because they do believe in what is happening in their subconscious when it gets brought forward to the conscious. And when it gets brought forward to the conscious, what happens is we start experiencing it as a reality. And our mind doesn't know the difference between reality and whether it's not a real event that's actually happening. So therefore, you and I have the ability to hone in and tune our minds into various different things that we wanted to do. Hence, we can now change habits into different types of habits. So that is why we're looking at Mocking Mind. For those of you who have done the Wheel of Growth, and once you become part of the team, if you want the videos on Wheel of Growth, we spoke about how most of us don't actually go all the way around to accepting who we are in our innermost being. And the Wheel of Growth is a beautiful tool, and I keep reminding you about it every single week, because it's the amazing tool for us to realize when something happens, at what point am I jumping off the wheel and not actually completing the wheel all the way to our completed session of Wheel of Growth. So as paying members, you're welcome to request that video and I'll send it through to you. Then we looked at Johari's window. How much are we actually hiding from the world, and how much are we willing to expose ourselves to the world? The ultimate is for us to be able to expose ourselves, because we have so much confidence in who we are, and our belief system is strong, that we don't have to hide all our skeletons in the closet. I'm not saying air your laundry to everybody, but what I am saying is that we don't have to be scared of what we've got in the closet, because we've worked through it already. And if somebody wants to throw it out at us, they can do so, and they're welcome to. So Johari window was another one we did. We then looked at the Wheel of Life. This was really awesome to tie it back to the Wheel of Growth. And where do we need to focus on growth in our lives? Because sometimes we don't narrow it down. And what happens is we go day in and day out, and we don't actually focus on where is the area that I need to grow on. And obviously, please, it's not obvious, but please don't try and focus on all areas at the same time. Work with one, learn how to master that skill, and then work with the second one. So we've done that as well. Last week, we looked at the transactional analysis, and that was all about the parent, adult, child, and all the controlling of how we can sometimes be a controlling parent, how sometimes we are a nurturing parent, and how this impacts us when we don't treat people with adult conversations. So with so much trauma that happens, which we'll talk about this evening, that happens in people's lives, what happens is we have a lot of people in the workplace and people we interact with that are coming from the child behavior. On the other hand, we have a lot of people that are in positions of authority that feel they have to become from the parent behavior. So what happens is you have somebody speaking to someone in the workplace as a parent. They could be a controlling parent, and the behavior that stems out from the employee could be childlike behavior. So childish is good, it's good to be fun, but childlike behavior, which is that nasty behavior, the throwing your tantrums, toys out of the cot, that kind of thing is not accepted in the workplace. So that's what we looked at last week. So now, please, I would highly suggest that you request that video and make sure that you actually have check that one out. So this evening's one is going to be looking at I'm okay, you're okay. So the author who has written a book on I'm okay, you're okay is Thomas Anthony Harris, as an American psychiatrist. After receiving his MD from the Temple University of School of Medicine, Harris was a good friend of Eric Berne. Now, Eric Berne is the founder of Transactional Analysis, what we looked at last week, and also the very good book on games people play. If you haven't read this book, Games People Play, highly recommend it, because you will laugh your head off when you actually start seeing the people around you and the games that everybody actually plays. Harris does disagree a little bit with Berne on a few concepts, but overall, they actually believe the transactional analysis is something that we work with. So when we look at it with I'm okay, you're okay, we're all born with a natural default that we're not okay, which is quite surprising when you look at when God says in his word, he says, I have knitted you in your mother's womb, like literally knitted. If you've ever seen your grandmother knitting something, or if you ladies have ever knitted something, you know that it's not just something you throw in there. There's a pattern, there's a design, there's equipment, there's a whole lot of things that go into. So God didn't just say, okay, there's George Butler, there's Tessa. He didn't do that. He went and he knitted and said, this is what I want it to look like. And yet when we come out, although we've been perfectly formed, we come up with a natural default saying, I'm not okay, which is quite interesting, because we should have come out saying, I'm perfectly made. So with that in mind, we go into life and we grow up in life saying, I'm not okay. But we have the power to change our I'm not okay status. And if we learn how to change and we identify where it is that our triggers are that put you into the not okay. And I'm going to say, preparing this again today, and I had a look at it and I thought, holy moly, you know, even though that I know this and I know what to work with this, and I use my wheel of growth, when I looked at this, I just thought, oh, damn it, this is where I'm defaulting into this bad behavior, because I could see at certain ages, certain things happen to me and it's creating certain things. And I need to go back and be aware of it. It's not something that just clicks over and changes. It's something you and I need to be totally conscious of all the time if we want to develop ourselves to becoming from glory to glory, from better to better. And the reason why you and I would desire to grow better every single month is not just for ourselves, but for those that are around us. Because if we can demonstrate that we can become better people, our children will desire to become better. And also, let's just see what we got here in the chat box. Made it awesome. Thanks. Oh, shame, Sylvia. You always got load shedding. Poor thing. Okay. All right. So that's the thing there. Also, learning our inner child and parent is how we strengthen our adult, our mind, and how we get rid of the games and improve our relationships, which is why I'm just saying the reason why we do what we do, and we put ourselves on these personal growth journeys. And I've just put myself onto a new personal growth journey. I started it today, and I just sort of thought, you know what, I need to be moving forward because I feel I've stagnated. And I've gone backwards because I've been so focused on trying to help everybody else become better and help everybody else do things that I've actually sacrificed myself in this whole thing. So it is important to get rid of those games, or better, to realize what game you're playing and not be in the game to win it, but be in the game to develop relationships and to become better and whole people. Because most people want to be in the game to win it, because we're coming from that I'm not okay place. All right. Winning a game is a good thing when you're playing Monopoly or Robert Kiyosaki's games. Then it's great to win. Okay. But in the game of life, it's not actually always the right place to win. So there's 4 positions in the I'm okay, you're okay. So the first one that we look at when we look at the quadrant is you're okay with me. So when I interact with you, I actually am comfortable in your presence because I see and I feel you accept me. Okay. The other one is at the bottom, which is you're not okay with me. In other words, I feel totally insecure when I'm around you. I don't feel that you accept me. I feel you're always judging me. Okay. And that is, so you're either on one end, other end of the spectrum. And how do we get ourselves to get to that place where it's okay when I'm in a new place and new people that I'm meeting and I'm saying, well, okay, I'm really not okay with you. And the reason being is because you don't know me. All right. And then, but I need to still walk into that space saying, I'm okay with me. All right. And where do I fit in with that? Then we have on the other side of the quadrant, I'm not okay with me. All right. So now I'm not okay with me. And that's not a really good place because that's your insecure place. Or the other side that says, I am okay with me. So how does this flesh out and what do we actually look at from these different perspectives? So if we look at that first quadrant, you're okay with me, I'm not okay with me. Okay, so I'm not okay, but you're okay. In other words, I'm downing myself and I'm making myself lower in the conversations because I am lacking self-confidence. Okay. So I just want to get away from situations, get away from talking to people. And I actually generally would walk into situations where I have this sense of helplessness. Okay. So if I'm not okay, but you are okay, it means that I am becoming very needy in that particular situation. Okay. Now, this is the default of most children. Most children will default to the I'm not okay, you're okay. And if we don't develop children, and if we are not developed within the right age groups to accommodate the right spaces that we're supposed to develop, by the age of 12 years old, once you get to 13, you will always default to this if this was never ever developed. Okay. If other things happen to you in the interim. Now let's look at I'm not okay and you're not okay, which is a totally hopeless situation because you get nowhere with anything. All right. So in other words, I don't want to interact with you because you're not okay and I'm not okay. So like, let's just fall out. Like really, don't care about this. I'm over you. All right. So in this situation, for example, if a mother is cold and non-stroking or aggressive and brutalizing, an adult locked in this position will reject being stroked or emotional connections from everybody else in their life. So it sounds like a lot of scarring with children with low self-esteem. Okay, so if you, and that says it what it is. So I had a mom that didn't hug at all. Okay, I was convinced that she had no emotional attachments at all. And I understand later on in my life when I started going through personal growth and that, but I mean, I was 30 when I started my personal growth journey. So if you take my life from 12 years old up to 30, my life was destructive. I was destroying people around me. I was horrible in the workplace. I actually I got divorced, and then I almost sent Anthony off bags packed in a second relationship. And the reason being is because my mom never hugged us. Okay. And my dad was a huggy person, but always on his terms. Always on his terms. There was always a reward attached to it. I hear you, Sylvia. You're absolutely, it's a sad place that our parents actually, and are we doing this and have we done this to our children? Okay. And you'll see it in your kids as they grow up. So, we think of things like this, like the 4 positions of life and I'm okay, you're okay, as something that, yeah, okay, it's out there, it's for the psychologists. But when we look at it in our own lives, so now we transition to I'm okay, but you're not okay. Now we're in this position. So you'll find that a lot of a tendency where this could happen is from a personality profiling is a melancholy, for example, because they have a critical nature. And I'm just generalizing. I'm not saying this is for everybody. Melancholies or C personalities who are spiritually developed will in actual fact realize that They don't have to come from that one-up position all the time. And when they talk to you, they actually talk down to you. So what they have a tendency is, because you're not okay, they just want to get rid of you, like, and they get irritated or angry with you, like, just get out of my space, kind of thing. So it's quite, and we could have had parents that are like this as well, because they say, well, I'm okay and you're not okay. Now, my dad always wanted a son. So to him, I was never okay. And so I jumped through hoops and always spent my entire life trying to please him, because he was okay, but I wasn't. And the things that I did were not okay either. So children of abusive parents, emotional or physical, while recovering from their wounds, can switch to a criminal stance when they see themselves as okay. But their parents and later the world, they're all okay, I'm not okay. So what happens is, when they get to a place where suddenly they are in a little bit of power, they could either steal or do fraud. I'm not talking about big criminal places, but most children from abusive will have a tendency to do something criminal. Hey, I shoplifted because I was a needy child. Okay, I got the hiding of my life, I need to tell you, with a riding crop, and I couldn't sit down for months. But hey, I was a criminal, I stole. Okay, so, and it was just so that I was shouting out, and I wanted my parents to actually be nice to me, or I don't really care what it was, that I just wanted their attention. And it was because of the emotional abuse that I was experiencing. And hey, I love my mom and dad. They both passed away, unfortunately. They're no longer around with me. But you can see how these things can happen to you as a child and how they interact. So I hope you're making some notes, because there's some really, I'm pretty sure I've touched some points on some of us right now. All right, and then there's that green place, the green zone, the happy place, all right, where I'm okay with me and I'm okay with you and all's good. I'm okay, you're okay, we're all good, and we're in a healthy situation, and we really are in that happy space. Okay, this is the only conscious position and decision we can make. So when we make decisions, we need to put ourselves in a situation where I'm okay, you okay. Because if we make decisions in the I'm not okay, but you're okay, we're gonna make very, very, very helpless decisions. If I'm making decisions from I'm okay, but you're not okay, I'm gonna only make decisions from a position that benefits me. So we really need to get ourselves into that I'm okay, you're okay position in our relationships with our children, with our bosses, and it goes back to the exercise that we did right at the very first one when we did the wheel of growth, is to list everybody that you interact with, so that you can understand who do I have these tendencies with, who am I being a parent to when I speak to them, who do I act like a child when they speak to me. And that would be the I'm okay, but you're not okay, where they feel they're okay. So it's a do you understand now why we call it the games people play? And until we come to a place of this reality of what is happening, we are not going to move on in our lives. We're not going to move past this. So what I will do is, for all of us that are on this Zoom, I will take a screenshot of this. If you haven't already taken a screenshot, I'll make sure that you get this sent to you, so that you can actually look at this. And I would really suggest, if you want to go a little bit more deeper, remember, I'm just giving you a surface overlook. The deeper way of the coaching and getting into this course is a lot more in detail and in depth. But if you want to, please, there's some really great articles and even some amazing videos on they're really focusing on, for example, I'm okay, I'm not okay, you're okay, and looking at it from different perspectives. All right, so let me just stop there before I go into the next section. Stop share quickly. Okay, please forward, right, Leon, let me just quickly ask Anthony to write down stola7@gmail.com, please. Thank you. You got that?
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, Ivan, good to have you with us. Vilma, good to have you with us as well. Welcome, welcome. So anybody want to say anything before we go into the next section, which is now which is going to go into the different age groups that we can start seeing, if this happened to me at this age, then this is where I'm going to be sort of working from, and that kind of thing. Anybody want to add anything? Anybody got some more detailed insights on having experience with the I'm okay, you're okay? Yes.
Okay. What makes me realize listening to you is that don't we, or the question I want to ask is, don't we lose a little bit of spontaneity if we constantly assessing as where we are, where the other person is, and that sometimes maybe would it not be better to just
Love it.
go for it? I don't know.
You're 100% correct, Vilma. So what I would suggest is don't be in that state all the time. So when you actually interact with somebody, and the wheels fall off. Okay, right. Let's get Fernanda's email address as well. And the wheels fall off in a specific incident. When you're going to reflect on how you're going to repair what you need to go and repair, then I would suggest you now take these tools and you sit down and look at the depth of how you want to repair that specific relationship, and then say, where did I step in? Because if you know where you came from, then it's easier to go and say, I'd then go and say, hey, Sonia, I really messed up the other day when I was having a chat with you, but you know what my mind space was? I was really just feeling so down and so insecure, and I behaved like a child when we were having a chat, and I'm really sorry about that. And that opens up Sonia's heart. She's going to say, wow, so reflect, manage the exceptions rather than trying to, because when you do that, each time you grow. And if you are journaling, at the end of the day, you're asking yourself the question, what did I mess up today? Okay, what did I mess up that I need to fix? Okay, and you know what? You might not be in a space to fix it the next day. It might take you 2 months before you're in a space to go and fix it. It might take you 2 months to prepare and all that. That's what I say, manage from the exception rather than the rule, because once you've worked it through, what you've done is you've taken it from your subconscious, you've brought it forward to the conscious, and now you start training your brain to start behaving in the I'm okay, you're okay zone, and your body language and the things that you say will naturally start happening the more you practice trying to get it right. Okay, I stuffed it up just this in 2 weeks ago. I've been so angry about the thing that I stuffed up, okay, and how I stuffed it up, that I'm so angry. My anger's now moved away from the people I was angry with. I'm now angry with myself. I'm internalizing my anger, which means that I now still need to process that, because if I'm going to interact with this person, okay, I'm going to interact from an aggressive space, and I'm going to interact with now from that space where I'm not okay, you're okay. Okay, which is going to just be, we're not going to get anywhere, because I'm going to attack, I'm going to behave like a child, I'm going to say the wrong things. So until I have that, which goes back to the wheel of growth, until I have that inner peace that is inside me, I cannot go and resolve this conflict. Okay, that's what I suggest we do. Make sense? Cool. Awesome. Ian, you're good. Leon, you're good. Brenda? Cool. Awesome. George, Tessa? Yes, Doc.
I just want to comment. I was actually thinking through my mind here that, funny enough, how you actually oscillate between these various squares, if I can put it that way. And I was asking myself, what makes that difference? And the truth was, in certain circumstances where you are not confident, guess what? You actually default into I'm not okay, because of poor self-confidence. And then the even worse one, poor self-esteem. Then the other one for me was, okay, that's firstly you yourself, me and I. The unholy trinity, me, I, myself, that one. But then the other one was, I said induced emotions, where you're in a situation where your emotions are being evoked through circumstance, by people, and you're not really in control. But I actually think that where you thought, I'm okay, you're okay, then all of a sudden the doubt will settle in.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm not okay because of what happened in the condition. And so what I really just got here is that there is an internal influence, which is you, but there's also an external influence, which is things out of your control, but it could play a role whether you would then default from we're both okay to I'm not okay.
Correct.
Just for me.
100%. And Fernando, you're quite right. If people are saying to you that you come across cold or aloof, all right, they're coming from a place saying either what they're either going to say is that they're either saying that they're okay, but you're not okay. Okay. So they're trying to look down at you and trying to make you become something that you're not, because they have the problem of a parent that is being cold to them, or somebody else that is cold to them that was important to them. So sometimes always look at who is telling you you're cold and aloof, because be honest with you, I've experienced you, I've interacted with you, and I've never seen you as cold and aloof.
No.
All right. So always look at who is the person that's accusing you of what it is. And the issue could sometimes be their issue, and then still look back at yourself and say, I'm okay. They're okay, but the issue is theirs. Don't go into the I'm okay, you're not okay. Okay, because if you step into that zone, then you're going to be talking down to them. All right. So good point. That so always look at who the conversation or the accusation is actually coming from. And
also, who's the bigger person?
Correct. Hey, who's taking the high road, as John Maxwell says?
Yeah.
Take the high road.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just experienced something that's happening just today, and I'm thinking, all right, I need to take the high road, but I don't want to take the high road, because I want to come out there and I want to like say, I really want to step into I'm okay, you're not okay. Like, hey, how could you be doing that? So it's a natural thing for me to step into that. But I know I need to, before interacting, I need to get myself into hold on a second. They have a point of view. I'm okay, they're okay, and work from there. So these triggers are happening all day. It's games people play.
Let me ask you a question then. What it sounds like what you're saying is that, so when you make a preconceived decision, they okay, I'm okay, you're actually from a better point of departure. Is that what you say?
100%, because you can make great conversations.
Attitude.
Your attitude will change. The words that come from your mouth will be, for example, there could be, when I felt that you did this, I feel this. So it's all our statements, because, hey, you know what? I'm happy to take my part in this, and because we're both off the same field, versus you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that. Then I'm coming from there, I'm okay, you're not okay. All right, the parental like da 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 with our fingers. And yeah, so it's quite interesting. Okay. Good stuff. Thank you. Right. So let's now see where this is where it stems from. And like I said previously in the previous session, is that most of who we are today and how we react and respond today, or put it this way, pre-personal growth, on any form of journey to become better. All right. All of our decisions and what we do were formed between 0 or minus 0 to 12. Okay, so awesome. Let's see. Coming back to Sonia, thank you for sharing again. Coming back to the foster child's coming from the abusive life. How do we get to a point where we're okay and she's okay? Okay, so let's have a look at that, because that's really a good question. So let's now have a look at the age group, because all of us have been between minus 0 and 12, and we all have had experiences. So what I would suggest your homework is go and do a timeline. Okay, so what you're going to do is a timeline, and you're going to go and do a timeline from minus 0, which means you're in your mother's womb, to 12 years old. And above the line, draw like 3 years old, 4 years old, whatever it is, and really great memories that you have. And then below the line, I want you in the same in your age groups. okay, is write down traumatic events or events that really, I mean, I remember I was around about 2-3 years old, and we lived on the bluff, and we lived very close to the airport, the old airport, not the new one. And this massive Boeing came over the house, but very low, to like too low, that the sound terrified me. And I was in the garden, and I remember screaming and running into the house, and all I wanted was my dad. And I ran, and I saw a man's leg that looked like my dad, and I ran and I just hugged it, and I was screaming. And then I looked up, and all these adults were laughing at me. I will never forget how embarrassed and how humiliated, and where the hell was my dad when I wanted him. So that for me was, I can't trust adults. They will always laugh at me. So I always came from the position where I'm not okay, but you're okay. Okay, so I grew a lot of my childhood and into my teens from that one tiny little experience. Okay, and not trusting adults. So even somebody who's more mature than me, and I interact with them, I don't trust them instantly. And I feel myself, oh, Michelle, get over it. You're not 3 years old anymore. All right. Yeah. And now I'm like hitting 60. Okay. so
you know,
yeah.
I don't have any real memories of before I was about 6 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still hidden away. And I've dealt with a lot. I've been in therapy because of things. But that's a long time ago, and I've dealt with it. I'm okay, and they're okay.
Good.
But I still do not have a memory really from anything before my 6th birthday.
You know, my one daughter is exactly the same. She's blocked everything out. My one daughter. She's blocked everything out. She cannot, she refuses to. And even when she's gone for Theophostic, which is prayer, Holy Spirit prayer, ministry, and all the rest of it, she just says, I'm sorry, I don't want to. I've blocked it for a reason. But she carries inner anger like you cannot believe. All right. Exactly, Sylvia, you're blocking it out as well, because we should actually remember a few things in our lives. We should. Okay, so right, let's have a look. See, great stuff. Thank you for your interaction. Really appreciate it. Let's make sure we can share screen again. Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate it. Right. Okay, let me find it. All right. Okay, so there's 7 developmental stages that we go through, all of us. And that first one is existence. And that's from the womb to 3 months, where a basic imprint of one's right to exist and sense of being alive is formed from the womb life, birth, and early infancy. Now, if you have healthy experiences from womb to 3 months, you are happy to exist. You'll find that everything in life, you're joyful, you're happy, all those kind of things. Now, just because something happens later on in your life, it doesn't mean that this part is taken away. So most of your life, you're living with like joyful, happy, laughter. And I've met 1 or 2 people, like my Pilates instructor reminds her that she's always happy. She's happy to exist. She's happy to be. She accepts the world for her, for what it gives to her. Now, in an adult, the disruptions from this stage can manifest as either a withdrawal from connection and a strong mental life, or as anxious about possible loss of connection to others, and a strong emotional energy comes from this. In other words, your split emotions are emotionally you're drained and mentally you're drained. So there's no connection with people. You find it hard to connect with people. You rather sit quietly in the corner of the room. Now, the rest of your life from 4 months onwards could be absolutely magic. But when it comes to initial connections, it could be, if it really is. Now, look, you get introvert people that will naturally go into a room and sit quietly. I am actually an introvert by nature. Okay, you won't believe it. But when I go into large crowds, I'm extremely introverted. And I will rather stand in the corner of the room and not interact with people. Okay, and so that could be a natural thing. All right. But then I discovered that I also have this womb to 3 months where my father walked into the room because my elder sister died at 6 months old, and my dad believed that girls were weak. And he walked into the room and said to my mom when I was in her womb, said, if that's a girl, I don't want it. Okay, so he spoke over the fact that he didn't want me. So I grew, my mental and emotional state is very, I live on a very high scale of it. Okay, so there we go. That's quite interesting. Then number 2, from 1 month to 18 months. All right, this is when we have a need, where the infant's experience of having one core satisfaction of basic needs is established in the relationship with the parents, leading to the beginning of self-regulation. If you have a healthy connection with your parents, then the feeling secure, that all your needs will be met, you have no problem. You're not scared that when your mother says, I'm going to the store, I'll be back later, you know she's going to come back. You're not scared to be left at school. There's no traumatic experience there, because you know whatever my needs will be met. So I'm in a happy place. In an adult, the disruptions from this stage can manifest either as a despairing or distrustful attitude about being able to get your needs met, and not being aware of what your needs are, or how to sense any form of satisfaction. So, for example, abandoned children, those kind of things, if they're not put into homes where their needs are met, they will lack this, and then through life they're going to always be living in a space of distrust and despair. All right, interesting. Hope you're finding this interesting. I found it extremely interesting as I was going through it. Number 3, that's the autonomy. Now you're going from 8 months to 2 years. Okay, 2 years, 2 years, 6 months. Autonomy is all about a person's ability to act on their own. So the child's curiosity state and life forces moves them to explore the world through the explosion of psychomotor skills, right? And an imprint on the child's impulses towards autonomy is formed. In other words, they really and truly want to be in a place where, good, thanks, Sylvia, want to be in a place where, let them be curious, let them roam around. And mums, we mess this one up, okay? Because don't go climb the tree, or don't go over there, don't crawl there. And I was, my first child, oh my heavens, I was neurotic in keeping him clean and all the rest of it, not allowing him to be curious and all that kind of thing. So we can step in and mess up this whole phase if we don't know that it's got to exist. So in an adult, the disruptions from this stage can lead to a lack of awareness of one's own impulses and feelings. Now I didn't realize that I actually was doing this to my son, but he will just blurt out and say he has got no filter in what he wants to say when he wants to say something. He doesn't think about what the impact of his words are going to be on other people, or to a fear of having to give up one's impulses and feelings in order to be in a relationship. He is no, so I've raised a damaged child, so his poor wife, and now we've got to educate him on how to be romantic and how to buy her flowers and how to connect, that kind of thing. But leading to avoiding of commitments, one thing I can say, I didn't damage that. He's really good with his commitments, which is nice. Okay. So you've got non-verbal activity and you've got verbal activity that people will be bouncing between, and how do they actually do it if they were in any way prevented. Now, this is where it can be quite damaging from a cultural perspective in the African market, where they're always putting children on their backs. Now, I understand it's really good when you want to put the child to sleep. However, we need to allow the child to move around, fall down the steps, because that's how they're going to learn depth perception, and those kind of things. So we have to, unfortunately, let our children grow. Okay, just stop them from eating what they shouldn't be eating, but in general, we've got to allow them to be curious. Okay, not intervene in that. Then you've got number 4, the will. Oh my goodness, this is the 2 to 4 year old, where they say only mothers love a 3-year-old. Okay, and the terrible twos. the child at this age becomes able to separate their thinking, their intentions, and their actions to make choices and put their power into action. In other words, they're going to go and do what they said they're going to go do. If they're going to go with, even if you've got them in a walking ring and they're going somewhere, they're going. If they're going to go press that button, they're going to go and do it. Okay. Now, how we deal with that will end up with a healthy experience, which means that we encourage the determination, the power, and the persistence. If we take that away from them in an adult, the disruptions from this stage can lead to either acting from a self-sacrificing position and having difficulties in planning, or holding back power and appearing angry, while believing that if there is a problem, it is someone else's fault. Okay, where now you can become either on one end of the spectrum, extremely judgmental, on the other end of the spectrum, self-sacrificing. So I have a tendency to be very judgmental, all right? And I know my parents thought I was an extremely willful child, and they were determined to take my power and persistent away from me, okay? But I'm still determined, and I still think I'm very persistent in today's time. But I have a tendency to be extremely judgmental, which could also lend into my personality profiling. Okay, so let's look at number 5. The love sexuality, that's for between ages 3 to 6 years old. While the child learns to love in a romantic way and learns to integrate heart and sexual feelings. Now, this is where obviously the sexual intimacy side, you depending on what they see on television, as of to how they're going to play that out. Okay, but this is where you'll see, and I saw such a cute thing on Facebook the other day from somebody that I'm following that is in Australia, and her son is fitting into this age group now, and how cute it was for him. He's not at that stage where he wants to take all the toys away anymore. He's at a stage where he takes a little girl's hand and he walks with her and all the rest of it, and that's the learning the romantic love. And it's at this stage where sadly more dads than mums will end up teasing the little boy, saying, oh, you got a girlfriend. Okay, whereas instead of saying that, is just to rather guide them to what is it to be in a platonic relationship, that it doesn't transition to the sexuality side of it. Okay, so in an adult, the disruption from this stage can lead to a split between loving and sexual feelings and a romantic or seductive way of being in a relationship. So in other words, you're going to go on one extreme, you're always looking for romance. And on the other extreme, you can be saying the only way I can get into a relationship is by becoming seductive. And so therefore, this is the age group that is most prominent to be very careful as of to what visually a child gets exposed to. Okay, so from movies, all that kind of thing. Super. All right.
Just ask you to talk about Daddy, where were you for that stage?
Okay, we can talk about that just now. Okay, just remind me. Cool. Okay, then number 6, the opinion forming, 5 to 9 years old. We all know they have an opinion. Teacher always says. Okay, so the child learns to put himself, his center, into words. So he now starts formulating, and this is a really cool place. And I've actually got a set of cards that I've played with my grandchildren when they've been in this age group, and that is the feeling cards. Because they need to start learning to not always think that they're angry. They need to understand the difference between anger and frustration and put their words into those feelings, okay? And so center their feelings and learns to deal with rules, norms, and culture. So this is why you have them rebelling at school and not wanting to go to school, and not wanting to eat their vegetables and not wanting to do this, because they're trying to say, hold on a second, I need to find out where I am now, and I need my own opinion, and I don't think that your opinion on peas counts, Mom. Okay, so this is where now how you deal with that is going to give them a healthy experience, which means that they now know what they think and are open to what others think. Can you believe that this is formed between 5 and 9 years old, and how often we're not sensitive to this, because they're now, this is where a lot of, why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why is this? What is this? And all that curiosity is coming in a great deal here. And often we as parents are so busy that we don't find time to say, oh, just stop it now, not now, eat your peas, or whatever it might be. Okay, so in an adult, the disruptions from this stage can lead to either difficulty in forming and expressing opinions, or having rigid opinions and rejecting opinions of others. Okay, so you're either going to be very sullen and withdrawn, or you're going to be very opinionated. And I'm pretty sure some of us saw some really and know some very opinionated people. Okay. All right. And then the seventh one is the solidarity performance, which is your 7 to 12-year-old, where the child finds a place in their culture by learning how to be a member of a group and community. And so this is also a time of acquiring and mastering high-level skills. Now, it's so important if we know this. And one of the things that we did without realizing that we were actually doing it at the right time with our children is that every Sunday we would have a round table discussion, and each child had the opportunity to be the chairperson. Even the 7-year-old was a chairperson of that. And we taught them high-level skills of managing a meeting, dealing with a meeting, listening to what someone was saying, responding back again, and all of that. So we did something right. I'm so happy we did something right with our children. This leads to secure in leading, excelling, and becoming a member of a group. And let me tell you what, other than one child, all of them are excellent in leading and excellent in becoming part of a group. And in fact, if I think about the one I'm talking about specifically, she knows how to blend into a group really well, and work as a team. And in fact, she's actually an amazing team player. So in an adult, the disruptions from this stage can lead to the fear of competing or standing out in a group, which is called leveling, or a need to be a star in the group in spite of the consequences of oneself or the group, which means they're always competing. So if this has been interrupted, you'll always have somebody that's leveling, which means that they don't really want to compete, so they'll level themselves out and go low key. Or you've got this natural competitive, doesn't matter what you say, what you do, I'm going to beat this conversation, beat whatever it is that's going to be done. So very interesting. I will make sure that you all get all of this. Let me just stop share. Get all of this. I hope you found it fascinating as I did, and interesting as I did, and very insightful, not just for ourselves and our own experience, but our actual own children that we're raising now. And for those of you who have got grandchildren, we have an opportunity to go back and look at this and say, yay, I can get a second chance to really help raise some really solid, healthy children. Guys, can you see how society is just messing up society? Anybody want to say anything, add anything, share? Just unmute yourselves and go for it, or type in the chat box. Yes, George, Tess.
Apparently, I had to be taught to be romantic and buy flowers, the same as your son. So I'll sort this out just now. So.
Well done, George. That's amazing growth.
I don't believe it, but yeah, I'll sort it out just now, because I don't think.
You weren't taught, you were just threatened.
I think so, Mama. Thanks. Thanks for standing
from
up.
5 years old, George. Can you believe it?
Can you believe it, George? All the way from 5 years old, you're going to be taught this, eh?
It's a crap story, that. I'll sort it out.
Oh, I love it.
I'm glad Isabel wasn't watching this.
Yes, Fernando. Awesome.
Yeah, shame.
But
You almost feel sorry for you.
almost. Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing the flowers. You must send me a pic.
You don't have to feel sorry, Mama. I'm not scared of this crap. I'll sort it out, I promise you.
Now, you know what? I think you may be lacking wisdom there a little bit, George. If I know those chicks around you at all, I'd be very worried now if I were you.
I don't lack no wisdom with chicks around me. I'm 100% fine with that.
He's
You see,
100%.
You mean you're okay? She's not, no?
I was just going to say it, Wilma. I was
I'm
just going to
okay.
say he's 100% and I'm okay, you're not okay. It's all good, buddy. Awesome. Love it.
I want Michelle just to share here the principle of Daddy, where were you? Specifically for children in age 3 to 6 years when it comes to love and sexuality. a very interesting book to read.
Unfortunately, the book is out of print, and we cannot even get the book. But for every person that's in a second relationship and they have children, if you're going to read this book, Daddy, Where Were You is actually what the title of the book is called, but we just cannot get it in anywhere. And I remember so with Anthony and he's got 2 children, I've got 2 children. Now, my ex-husband was really abusive with my children, hence one of the reasons why I left him. And when he went and left us, he would always only phone my son on his birthday. He never phoned my daughter for her birthday or for Christmas or anything. He just didn't acknowledge her. Okay. So she grew up with a identity crisis, because a child has to identify when it's that connecting with the parents stage. It's connecting with both parents. So when they connect with the daddy, they're going to get the what it is like to be connected and loved the right way by a man. When they could connect with mom, they connect with how it is to have build relationships with women. And if one entity of that is missing, then they're going to go into that place where they're going to be either self-sacrificing, or even they start not believing in themselves, and then they themselves don't know where to stand. But anyway, my daughter, when we got married, she absolutely, still to this day, absolutely adores Anthony. Like, he is her dad, finished and Clark. He's her dad. But every birthday, the 2 of them would fight like something horrific. From when she was, I think you met her when she was 9.
She was 9, yeah.
She was 9. 364 days of the year, no problem. One day of the year, they would fight, and she would come at him and she would fight with him, until I read the book, and all she was saying, Daddy, where were you when it was my birthday? And the closest thing to Dad was him, so she would push him away and she would fight with him. And until we read the book, when it came to her birthday, she would try to fight with him. She would try to push him away. She would say nasty things. And because we understood what was happening, he then could step into a different role of, okay, it's fine, walk away, stay out of her space. And eventually she realized, hold on, but Daddy is here, because he was giving her the love that she desired when she was a little baby, because he left when she was about 18 months old. So that Daddy, where were you can play. Yeah, a big place in that role. Yeah, I hope that's what you want me to share.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the other thing was just sexual identity. If the father is absent.
So, and especially in a girl's life, if the father's absent when it is that 3 to 6 years and not around, they could become very promiscuous as life goes on. Okay, because they are looking for, they are hunting for that love that should have been fulfilled from a father perspective in their home between that 3 to 6 years old. So they more than likely would then step into, which is that seductive role, which is the promiscuity stage, thinking that's the only way they're going to get people, men, boys, to like them. Yeah. Right. Anybody else want to say anything? Any aha? So please, can each person either just type in what was like a highlight for you, what was something like, wow, I learned something new. If you can just type it in, or unmute yourself and let us know what it is.
Well, Michelle, you taught me a lot tonight.
Awesome, Sonia. Thanks, man.
No, why I'm referring to this foster child is she came to us when she was 15 months old. And when she got here, she would stand in front of a wall and bang her head against the wall. Or either she will stand in the middle of the room and just fall backwards.
Yes.
Tantrums like crazy. But father just disappeared after, oh no, the mom was still pregnant with her. The father disappeared. They never had a proper place to stay in. The mother was on drugs. Luckily, she didn't have any withdrawal symptoms or anything from that. Thank goodness for that. but she was a very angry child. And only now she turned 3 years old in March.
There you go.
Only now she's starting to get comfortable and see that she's actually getting love. Look, she gets angry with herself very quickly. If she struggles with something, she gets angry. That's why I say tonight's session was fantastic. Now I know the road ahead of where to do what with her and how to change her mindset and how to help her to grow into the person that she would love to be.
Awesome. Absolutely. And now you have a tool to understand that that space that she was in when she was rejected is going to always lead to that despair or distrust. And that's where the anger is going to come from. So now you're in a position to help her to deal with the anger in the right way and how to find mechanisms that when she's angry, what does she do? Does she need a stress ball? Does she need to punch a pillow? So that she takes the anger out of her onto something that's not a person. Okay.
That's true. And one thing that I've seen, there's a lady, she's at the Purple Foundation here in Van der Bijl Park, helping with abusive relationships with women and children and everything. She actually showed a video on Facebook once, where her son that she adopted was also a very angry child. And she took a newspaper and she holds it and he punches the newspaper until it's small blocks. And then they make like little balls with it and they make a game of it at the end of the day. So it's to get out that anger by punching the newspaper, making balls and start throwing each other within as a game. Where all the laughter and everything comes out. So you get the anger out and then you bring fun into this whole thing.
Absolutely.
And that's what I actually thought of doing with her as well. As soon as she gets to that stage where she's angry, maybe try that and see if that will help her to get all the anger out of it.
Yes. And the more that gets practiced, the more it comes forward to the conscious mind. So when she does get angry, the time span between anger and laughter becomes shorter and shorter and shorter. And then she knows how to deal with her anger when she becomes an adult. Awesome. Thanks, Sonia.
That's it. Thanks a lot, Michelle.
Awesome. Thank you. Vilma, attitude. Nice one. Yep. It's all about our attitude. Love it. Yes, Anne.
No, I was just an aha for me is when you said do a timeline in terms of from 1 to 12. And obviously now this tonight here gives that age spectrum. And I'm just looking at how the stages in terms of the two splits actually play a role at things that came up either positive or negative because of what you experienced. Now, the first thing that I heard quite a few people say is that they can't remember at all. I really, really believe that that blocking of it is for a reason to protect ourselves. I really think we're trying just to protect ourselves. Like our one daughter has decided not to remember because she wants to protect herself because she's so scared that she's going to discover something that she did or did not do that's going to be not okay.
Yeah.
Because one thing about her, she's always, I'm okay, you're not okay. Which is which means it's the way she protects herself. I'm okay, but you're not okay. And let me tell you, even today as an adult going to a restaurant, you don't want to go to a restaurant with this child because she walks in with, I'm okay, you're not okay. And it doesn't matter what the service level is, it's just never good enough. And I believe it's because of that pent up anger of the part of that she's blocked out. And yeah. Now you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink because it's for her to decide she'd like to go and work with this. It's her issue. It's not. In fact, we as parents could have been cutting our wrists saying, you know, what do we do as parents? But no, it's not the part where we interacted because she actually picked it up prior to us because she was 10 by the time Michelle and I had all 4 children because we raised all 4 our children from our blended family because that part of her anger is before we basically took them in home.
Absolutely.
Just for what it's worth.
Yeah, very interesting. Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I need to say that I'm now just sitting here trying to calculate. I was older than 6. We moved to another country. I think I was 7 and a half. And I remember that journey and just prior to it and nothing else. But I've dealt in therapy and through Christian therapy to deal and accept and forgive. But I actually want to find out. But no, yeah, but you can't make you can't make it up. You can't.
That's right.
Tell yourself anything. It either comes or it doesn't come, and it just doesn't want to come.
Well, when you're going to sleep at night, just keep asking every single night, hey Lord, as I sleep tonight, if I'm supposed to have any of those memories, if you don't mind, give it to me in a dream. And say it every single night until one day the Lord decides that now's the time for you to know.
Yeah, like Anthony says, I do believe that it is to protect us, ourselves.
Yes,
it's basically God's protection of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That it's not going to change anything today anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just our inquisitive mind that sort of that tickles it, But
it's true.
that I haven't experienced enough yet. But yeah, no, awesome. But yeah, that's it. It's just not there.
Thanks, Wilma. Awesome. Yeah. Right. Anybody want to share verbally or just type in what you got out of tonight's session?
It's strange, it's a small thing like this evening. Never thought about it. And in this last hour, thinking backwards, and you think to yourself, I don't have too many memories from those days. And yeah, it's never thought about it. I was never worried about it or even tried to think of memories. Now that I'm trying to think of memories, you realize they're just not there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fascinating.
Very fascinating. And also, like we've been chatting, is the Lord, does he want to reveal it? Is it because something did, the hurt was so painful? With the one daughter that we're speaking about, the way her mother treated her, the pain was so deep that she chooses never to go back, and the blockage came because she doesn't want to experience that pain again. So we're all very mature right now, so to think way back to those years may not even be necessary. But if something keeps cropping up where you're in one of those situations where you're looking at someone all the time saying, I'm not okay, you're okay, then it is to ask the Lord, listen, why am I always feeling like this? Why is it that I'm in the space? Why do people see me as cold and aloof? What is it or who is the person? Am I that way to those kind of people? And hey, it's just a personal thing if you want to process it or not, which is our choice. But it's nice to know that these things, and what's nice about this is we can actually help out the next generation and generation to come, which is the legacy generation. And I remember reading an article, and Brenda will come now, where the question was asked to a sheikh, how do you see the legacy happening within your family and all the rest? And he said, what I've realized is that my great-grandfather rode a camel. My grandfather rode a camel. My father rode a camel. I've chosen to ride a Mercedes. But the biggest mistake I've made is my son will ride a Mercedes. My son's son is going to ride a Mercedes. But you know what's going to happen is my great-great-grandson is going to end up riding a camel again. And they asked him why. And he said, because we've made life too easy for them. Made life too easy that eventually they're going to buy a Land Rover, and then they're not going to know how to keep this Land Rover, which means they're going to lose everything in life and they're going to go back to a camel because we've made it too easy. And here we have an opportunity to have a legacy that we can make sure that somewhere that these things are healthy in our grandchildren. And if we teach our children these things and that our grandchildren these things, then the legacy going forward is going to be, we're going to be leaving a legacy of healthy children with great relationships, which in essence is then going to help society, which means that my family is going to be a cornerstone in society, which means that they can impact the world. And that's what we're going to be looking for. Hope that makes sense. Awesome. Brenda and then Leon.
Yeah, Dr. Michelle, for me, I think it's also amazing that age from 0 to 12 was so important and how it affects you later on, even when you don't realize it, you know, and you actually, how important it is to look back. So yeah. I've never thought about it that way, but yeah, it's actually amazing.
It is amazing. Thanks, Brenda. Leon.
Yeah, as Brenda say, I was also never aware that children can be so adaptive at certain behaviors from certain infant stages. And I was now thinking that being aware that you can't remember anything from your early ages, do you think if you make your children aware, or any parent make their children aware and say, remember this, if necessary, write it down, remember this, do you think it will change their conscious of for future reference, different to what we can remember?
I definitely think so. And especially if something traumatic has happened to them. So, for example, just a random thing, they could be at their grandmother's place and granny falls and breaks a hip. Now, they don't know what to do. And you've got to say to them, do you remember when that happened to you? How did it make you feel? What did you, because they're going to go into that helplessness state or whatever it is. Or when something really good happens, like, for example, they won a race at school and they won it. How did you feel? And if we can get them touching into those feeling emotions, and let's say, for example, they said I felt great. Then go a little bit deeper. What does great mean to you? How did it feel inside? Because great is not actually the right answer to that. Elated or excited, or I felt like a champion. You know, just expanding really, really helps them, because when they get into adulthood or you know, early teens, adulthood, that all those needs and those things, they'll be able to put words to them and identify what they are. And if you feel that they're touching on, let's say, for example, this is recorded, but they felt ecstatic. Now they go to teenage years, and that bordering ecstatic from a sexual perspective could walk over. So now we're going to say, what does ecstatic mean? Feeling ecstatic, because that's an emotion that if you're talking to a 12-year-old versus talking to a 6-year-old, what, you know, when they starting to experiment in those stages. So one has to help them through those phases. Interesting.
Yeah, no, I think even for the road ahead, it's so important to make them aware of their emotions and how they react to certain incidents that can trigger either negative or positive emotion.
100%.
Leon, I just thought of a business opportunity. Why did we start a movement that says journaling for children? That even from the age of 3, as they have experiences, that they can literally put a sticky book together in terms of their experiences. I just realized, if I can just share my biggest aha tonight, my number one value in life is injustice. I will just not stand for injustice. I realized tonight for the first time when I was writing down where that value came from, that was at the age of 5 years old, that my sister and I were playing in the yard, and she had a little water pistol. And the water pistol, she aimed at me, but a few drops unfortunately fell on the gardener next door, sort of on his leg. He reached out over the fence and he smacked the shit out of my sister. Sorry, there's no other word. Obviously, when my dad came back, I told my dad about it. And that's where I saw how that injustice was rectified with my father taking justice by sorting the guy out. But I realized that at that young age, that smack of just a few drops of water, and you know, we were playing like kids, but he smacked the crap out of her. And I realized today where the foundation was for my value of injustice. Wow. So that's a big aha for me tonight.
Yeah. Amen.
And
Yeah.
trust me, his value of injustice rises even watching a TV show.
Mm.
Awesome.
Leon,
If you're not going to
is
stand
that-
for something, you will fall for everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. I love it.
Leon, were you actually on that beach that's behind you, or is it just a green screen?
No, that's my own creation.
Lovely.
Aha. So
During
what
a
is written
desert
in
period
front
of my
of the
life.
word Jesus?
Say again?
Because that is Jesus written there. What's written in front of it? Yeah.
Jesus, nice.
Ah, Jesus. That's a
Yeah.
Footprints in the sand. Awesome.
Yes.
Lovely.
footprints.
Arvin,
Lovely.
you're the only one who hasn't typed in or said anything. Do you want to just type what you got out of this evening? And then we can wrap up. And then
Tell us
George,
we
you,
are a crazy bunch.
what did Tess get out of this evening? Don't speak on her behalf. You must ask.
Flowers. Flowers. She got flowers.
Oh, she got flowers. What's your aha, Tess? Arvin, you're going to just type in there, or do you want to talk? There we go. Let Arvin talk.
I can't
Yes, Arvin.
see if I can.
Okay. There we go.
Microphone is muted. Okay, no, it's fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks. It was very valuable to me to hear all the experiences. It's quite life enriching. I didn't have a lot to say, but I really enjoy what you were saying tonight. And I think for us as Christians, it's very important to understand the things that happens to us when we're children. I actually had a discussion to my brother who's a missionary, and we talked about the same thing tonight.
Wow.
How things that influence your youth can influence the way you experience later in life. It was quite an enriching experience tonight. Thanks for that, Dr. Michelle and
Thank
Dr.
you.
Anthony.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thanks
a
for
lot.
being here,
I
Arvin.
really enjoyed that, Dr. Ant. I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. Thanks, Arvin. George,
I
Tess.
just want to add something. You know what? My oldest son is now 38 years old. And when I go and visit him, I realized now, or not now, well, I realized it a few times that I went there, that he's doing stuff that I did when I was a father and he was a boy. And he's doing exactly the same things. And that is because of reaction or actions that you had. And they learned these actions. And now they applying us, even if it's wrong of stuff that I did, then I reprimand him when I'm there, because he's doing stuff with his children that I did with them, which I now think is wrong, which I didn't thought was wrong at the time I did it.
Yeah.
But now I think it's wrong. So then I tell him, and he says, yeah, but you did it. You know, so it's something that a person must think about when you're a father.
Yeah.
And it's stuff that they learn what do you call it?
Subconsciously.
Subconsciously, that's the word I'm looking for. So my English is drying up like bad airtime here. So the fact is they learn these things subconsciously, and Fernando also mentioned it just now, like if you go to the fourth one is will, stuff that I can't remember stuff, and Leon also said it, you can't remember stuff. I can't remember stuff that happened to me too when I was 2 to 4 years old. Was I allowed to do what I wanted to do, which in later life will determine if I have got the will to decide to do something. I mean, well, I haven't got a problem doing it, so obviously it didn't happen, you know, so it wasn't a problem that time, but you can't remember it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what Fernando also just said there, because thinking back, I can't even think of anything in that time that must have changed my attitude on stuff that I wasn't allowed to do or whatever the case may be. So you can't remember stuff like that. But yeah. So what I actually wanted to say is a parent should look what he does, because his children is watching him all the time.
Absolutely.
100%. You can't believe how much they watch you and how much they react, and they carry that reaction inside of him, inside his brain, his subconscious. And when he grows up, he starts doing this stuff. Right or wrong, he just does it.
Exactly.
You know, and that
Exactly.
goes for inside and outside now. Little mannerisms, little, the way you lean against the wall,
How you
He does-
walk.
the way you hold a cup. I
He
mean,
does
it's
exactly
amazing.
that stuff. He does that. You
Yeah.
can't believe it.
There's a
Holding your
certain
knife in your left hand.
it's certain when certain emotions rise up in me, Anthony says, gosh, you walk just like your dad. Yeah, I said,
yeah.
what? How did my dad walk? He said, you walk just like your dad when I'm on a mission to go and do something. Isabel, Tess, you want to say anything? Isabel, did you get anything out? And then we can wrap up. We've got 10 minutes. Are you all good, you two? Tess is good? Great. Isabel, is she there? Is she good, Fernando?
Silence is golden.
Great.
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. All right, guys, thank you so much for this evening. Thank you for joining us, and we really appreciate. What I will do is make sure tomorrow I will put this recording up, and then I'll send you the recording so that you can listen to it again, share it with some of your family and friends, and take it from there. So thank you very much. God bless.
I want to raise
you.
a challenge. Michelle asked us last time to invite somebody to be here. I invited 2 guys. Guys, I am chuffed with you. I'm proud of you that you are here. And to the rest of you, get your act together. Invite a friend to be here.
Awesome. Great. The more the merrier, the more we learn, because we learn more about from each other than we are actually. And some amazing, great idea came from my husband. I've written it in my idea book. So
Yeah.
take care, guys. Love you all. God bless. Chat
Load
again.
shedding,
Cheers.
40
Thanks,
minutes, eh?
everybody. Bye.
Load shedding
See you
in
next
40 minutes.
week.
Oh, yes, load shedding. Oh, yes. Thanks, George.
Cheers.
Cheers.